And this is news and commentary from America's Heartland. You're watching Heartlander News. Hi, and welcome in to another edition of Heartlander News. I'm Chris Stigall. It's Pride Month. Blessings to all of you who celebrate. Pride organizations are adjusting to operating without longtime sponsors again after struggling to secure big brand support for their annual events. This is a very interesting shift in recent years. Major names like Marriott, L'Oreal, and Red Bull continue to serve as top-level backers. Some Pride organizations say they're still in negotiations with other potential sponsors, but other marketers have reduced their commitments or opted out entirely, and most brands that withdrew funding in 2025 have not come back at the same level, if at all. Sponsors are just a little bit reluctant, says Patty Hearn, executive director of Seattle Pride. Departing sponsors have provided a range of reasons, including economic instability and the Trump administration's moves against diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Several federal agencies also typically sponsor Capitol Pride's annual activities, but all stepped back this year and haven't returned. A federal healthcare provider last year told organizers at a Pride event in Indiana that it couldn't participate due to changes in the approval processes and organizational guidance related to executive orders. The White House has referred inquiries about DEI and Pride to the Office of Management and Budget, responsible for developing and enforcing guidelines for contractors. Pressure on DEI has affected Pride over the U.S. border, too. The organization has an estimated deficit of $800,000, losing several key sponsors last year, including Google and Home Depot. The anti-DEI stuff that we're seeing happening in the United States has trickled up into Canada. Again, this is why Paul Krugman is so desperate to see the demagnification of the country, because the agenda that they have been shoving down our throats for entirely too long and that we've all sort of politely tolerated, it's now being met with a silent majority pushback that is silent no more. And this makes them mad. Over at CBS News, the haughty, H-A-U-G-H-T-Y, Scott Pelley, who likes to chew on the end of his glasses. Aaron, do you know people who do this with their glasses? I have some readers every now and again. I wear them on occasion. Let me show you what Scott Pelley likes to do. And let me ask you, Aaron, when I do this, does this make me look more intelligent? Scott Pelley likes to do this. Have you ever seen people do this with their glasses?
I think so, yeah.
This is meant to make me look extra cerebral and thoughtful. Does it look cerebral and thoughtful?
Yes, I think so.
He loved doing that. His glasses were a prop, and he always loved to take. In interviews on 60 Minutes, he would go, I think it's akin to like a pipe for some people, like a cardigan and a pipe. His glasses were sort of a prop. He always, the haughty, very smoke from the bottom jaw. There's a character on Family Guy called Bottom Jaw. It's Scott Pelley. Anyway, so there's new management over there at 60 Minutes and CBS News. And, there's been just perpetual firings and layoffs and people quitting in the snit because Barry Weiss, who's running it now, she's hired somebody to come in and run 60 Minutes. And this was Scott Pelley's turf, and he was Well, apparently the new guy who took over managing 60 Minutes, a guy called Nick Bilton is his name. He's the executive producer. He gathers everybody up in a huddle last week at 60 Minutes and says, all right, hey, my name's Nick Bilton and I'm running the show now. Well, Scott Pelley apparently interrupted this guy as soon as he started reading introductory remarks at the meeting. And according to people in attendance, he was accused of murdering 60 Minutes and questioned Bilton's qualifications for the executive producer role. Scott Pelley also spoke with Barry Weiss, CBS News president, Tom, whoever he is, and a human resources representative to discuss the path forward. Pelley said or no, Bilton in response to Pele said, "Your antipathy to the future of this show has come through loud and clear. Your performative display of hostility. I know how much Scott meant to many of you, and I don't say this lightly. I made repeated attempts to have direct conversations with him over the weekend, and this afternoon I tried to find common ground. But Pele was bounced. Ultimately, they let him go." I don't know if you've ever had a meeting with a new manager when he or she comes in and says, "Hi, I'm the new boss. I'd like to discuss our way forward and some things I'm thinking." Probably not a good idea to kick off the meeting by saying, "You're murdering this organization and you don't have the qualifications to be here." That probably doesn't start your tenure with the new boss off well. The fund, the fraud fund, well, not fraud fund, but the $1.8 billion fund we've been talking about that the government basically settled with Donald Trump after they released his taxes and shouldn't have. This was something that ultimately, I guess, the Senate was going to have to sign off on. There wasn't much of a political appetite for it because it was calling a lot of attention to Trump and his pride. And look, here again, I say the Trump administration has been granted immunity for the taxes that fall under the time now and that have happened in the past. So said another way, basically during President Trump's tenure as president and all of his taxes previously, the IRS can no longer, per the DOJ, have at his taxes, release his taxes, go at him for taxes. They're grandfathering it in at DOJ. Now, some say this is politically troubling. And I'm told that, well, taxpayers aren't going to like that a rich guy is being shielded. He's not. The point is, the federal government has been weaponized against Donald Trump more than maybe just about anybody else. Everybody knows exactly what's in his taxes. The IRS released his taxes illegally to try to topple him in a couple of election cycles. So DOJ simply said, we're no longer going to subject Donald Trump to that kind of treatment ever again. It does not say that Donald Trump cannot be subject to scrutiny in the future. It says nothing about the Trump organization or Donald Trump personally not having a look under the hood after his presidency. It's just an agreement that the government is settling past issues with him. And so they came up with this $1.8 billion fund and as a settlement to President Trump for illegally releasing his taxes. And President Trump said, I want to make a fund for victims, American citizens who have been abused by the government. I've been told this is politically uncomfortable, maybe even for some Republicans. Well, anyway, it came up. These things came up yesterday on Capitol Hill in a hearing. Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, discussed this in clip 212. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, I wanted to ask a few questions about the anti-weaponization fund. We know that the department has agreed to pause this effort until at least June 12th. I wanted to ask what your plans were for the fund after June 12th.
So thank you. So look, we're not moving forward with the fund. You're right that there's a date that in the case in the Eastern District of Virginia in June, but we are not moving forward with the fund, period. The reasons for the fund is something that President Trump talked about for a long time, which is the fact that there were a lot of people in this country who had their government weaponized against them. The reasons for the fund, I think, it remain as important as they were before, but we are not moving forward with the fund.
Not moving forward ever?
Correct.
Oh, there's no more fund then?
Well, to the extent there was a fund, and remember the fund wasn't set up yet. There were no commissioners named. There was no claimants brought anything in front of. There was no claims made yet. So yes, we're not moving forward with the fund.
You and associate.
Yeah. However, there is a discussion in the House right now about an anti-weaponization fund amongst House Republicans, and they are those who are wanting to bring it to a vote. There's a guy called Brian Fitzpatrick, total squish in Pennsylvania, who said he plans to force a House vote on his bill to block the Trump administration's anti-weaponization fund. Fitzpatrick, who co-authored the legislation with a Democrat to block the fund, told Anderson Cooper in a statement that the statement from the Justice Department was not satisfactory. We need both a legal avenue here and a statutory legislative avenue. That's what Tom and I have introduced, and that's what we're going to force to the floor. They're looking at spearheading a discharge petition to force a vote on the bill. I think it's a gross abuse of discretion. That's what this is, Fitzpatrick said, referring to the fund. So, we're going to stop this, and we're going to prevent future instances from happening. We have half this country living paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to meet the most basic needs to govern their households, and we're forced. When we're forced on these infrastructure projects and slush funds, that's not the way we should be governing. It's not a slush fund. Again, it is the government making people whole. It has victimized your government that you represent, Mr. Fitzpatrick. You can claim this, I'm trying to represent the people who are struggling. Well, what about the people that were wrongly thrown in prison, Mr. Fitzpatrick, and abused by this government? But here he is, a Republican pretending to be a Republican. And in fact, he's a Democrat, partnering with a Democrat to block President Trump's agenda here. And as for other lunatic, this is the purple-haired weirdo, Rosa DeLauro, yesterday, going at Todd Blanche. And I already tackled this, but this is what the Democrats are trying to make this out to be, that they're giving blanket tax immunity to the entire Trump family for the rest of their lives, which is absurd. But here's how Todd Blanche dealt with it.
An addendum, the second order?
No,
The only thing you're talking about here, so the blanket immunity is not something that you're going to move back on?
it's not blanket immunity. That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
Read it. Okay. United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of actions, appeals, requests for any reliefs. I mean, this is an order from you, but you're not prepared. You are prepared to say that the president and his family will be barred, are immune from. That's a yes.
No, it was not a yes. I had not answered the question. I can't answer if you want me to.
What are you doing with this?
Okay, so there was.
And of course, the text of that will go on to say forever immune from being prosecuted related to the dates specified, which is the part that she leaves out. And Blanche goes on to explain that. But again, they're not interested in that. Something also just fun, because I like watching great communicators shred partisan hacks like Marco Rubio, who went toe-to-toe with Nevada's Democrat Senator Jackie Rosen yesterday in an interesting exchange. Take a listen to this.
You were at a party with President Trump in Miami instead of accompanying Vice President Vance to Pakistan for negotiations.
What party was I at? I was at a party?
It's publicly reported, and there's photos there.
But
In
what
fact,
party?
Steve
No,
Witkoff
but you're going to
and
say that. I'm
Jared
going to
Kushner-
answer it. I'm going to answer
But
that
let me
question, because
finish
that's an
my
absurd
statement.
statement. I was not at a
As I
party.
finish my paragraph,
All right.
he can answer.
Because people are going to
In fact,
slander me. I'm going to
Steve
answer it.
Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both of whom were never confirmed by this body to be America's diplomats, accompanied the vice president in the negotiations. Even Iran's foreign minister was not there, yet was there, and you were not. I just feel that's embarrassing for us, and it's embarrassing for you. So, Mr. Secretary, Congress represents the American people. We have the power to confirm who represents America abroad. We confirmed you to be our Secretary of State. We confirmed you to be in the negotiations that are happening. And it's just unthinkable to me that you are missing high stakes negotiations, or that you're not involved. It's sad.
Senator Rosen, your
Thank
your
you.
time's up.
Yield back.
Okay,
But
so let me just-
Senator, Secretary Rubio. should
You're
have the
100%
opportunity to
inaccurate
reply.
and 100% wrong. Here's why. Number one, the vice president of the United States was there, and he wasn't confirmed by us, and he was elected by the American people. Okay? He is the second in line of the presidency of the United States. He was present. Mr. Witkoff is the president's envoy for negotiation for peace deals. Mr. Kushner is a private citizen that serves as an advisor on these functions. They were the team that we sent to Pakistan. I was not at a party. Where I was is next to the president. because in the midst of those negotiations, I was in communications with them. And in fact, I think there is media reporting from that evening on how on multiple occasions I went into a back room, I came back out and spoke to the president and was constantly updating him. On that evening, I spoke to Mr. Kushner and our negotiating team and Mr. Woodcock on at least 6 occasions, including twice on a secure line from the phone they had access to over there. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're just
Senator
making
Rosen,
stuff up.
he has the floor.
I know your
please.
staff wrote up this cute statement for your TikTok video, but it's not true and it's not real. That's not what happened. Okay. I'm the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State. I was co-located with the president in the midst of a high stakes negotiation so that I could immediately inform him about events occurring halfway around the world. I was where I needed to be at that moment because we had a very capable team on the ground in Pakistan, led by the Vice President of the United States.
I can't do it better than that, so I'll leave it with Secretary Rubio, and that'll do it today from America's Heartland. Hope you'll stay close by subscribing to Heartlander News here on YouTube, and you'll be alerted every time we drop a new show. Be sure to give us a like and comments too if you're so inclined. We're glad to have you along, and we'll see you next time from America's Heartland here on Heartlander News.